Ain't no half-stepping with Marcus J, live from the den of Legacy Internet Radio, as we have been talking throughout the evening, bits and pieces about the passing of the teacher, the legendary Dick Gregory. I wanted to have a very special guest join us on the live line, and this brother is no stranger to us here at Legacy Internet Radio. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is our brother, comic Micah Bamm White. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Mark J? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to hear your voice. Sad to hear it under these circumstances, but good to hear your voice nonetheless.
Hey, man, it's good to be heard. Good to be heard.
Yeah, good deal. Well, I thought about you immediately after we learned of the passing of the teacher, Dick Gregory, a couple of nights ago. And as a comic, I know that must have hit you probably a little harder than some of us who may not have understood the game of comedy. Share some reflections on how you felt about Dick Gregory.
Oh, man. I mean, well, first let me say how I felt. I don't want to say felt. I still feel. How I feel about Dick Gregory, man, it's kind of hard to put into words because the brother is so dynamic in how important he was, not in comedy, but as a comedian in our country. And even more, even just as much abroad. The legacy of Dick Gregory in anybody's mind is a lot smaller than the actuality of who Dick Gregory was.
Right.
So, I still feel, I feel good. And the reason I feel good, not that he passed. Of course, we feel bad that he passed because, we're going to miss him so much and so on. But Dick Gregory's body has subsided. However, Dick Gregory's legacy will live forever. And I think if there was anybody that lived in preparation for their death, Dick Gregory was one of those people. So my feeling for Dick Gregory, man, is with a lot of respect, a lot of love, because that's what he shared, even though he shared it in his own way. As much as Dick Gregory would cuss you out, as much as Dick Gregory would yell at you, at the same time, Dick Gregory only did those things because he wanted the best for everybody, especially the black race. As it pertains to him as a comic, we forget, how crazy Dick Gregory's life was as an early comic. He was one of the first black comics, he was the first black comic to ever be used by Hugh Hefner in the Playboy Mansion, which when that happened, that put him in a circuit that no other black comics were in at the time. So when you think about pioneers such as, your Red Foxes and your Bill Cosbys and your Richard Pryors, Dick Gregory created a platform even for them. So to kind of think about that, it's kind of like, wow, So, Dick Gregory, man, plus then he was woke. He wasn't one of these brothers that was in it just for the fame. He wasn't in it just for the paper. He wasn't in it just for the women. As a matter of fact, talking with Dick, I don't believe Dick Gregory ever cheated on his wife. And he was married to her for almost 60 years, if I'm correct.
Right.
So he really held his cards tight. He really was about his business. When I started drinking a lot more water, it was because I watched the Dick Gregory video when he was enlightening me about water. So the depths of his brother's mind wasn't just about a joke. It was simply about what is life about. His cornerstone was comedy because that created, his ability to be able to get in certain doors. But what he was about was much greater than just a joke. So that's how I feel about Dick Gregory, man. I guess also, Mark J, when you think about comics today, they had to dumb down entertainment altogether to stop entertainers from wanting to be valuable on the grand scheme. Right now, you're only valuable for a purpose and a dollar that somebody else can make, not really even yourself. Dick Gregory's Dick Gregory's value really had nothing to do with the dollar. It had to do with who we were as a people. So, I can go on and on about my man Dick, but that's those are the things that I really admire about him.
Right. Ain't no half-stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. We're talking to our brother and comic, Micah Bamm White. We're reflecting on the teacher and the passing of Dick Gregory. One thing that I can share with you, something that we shared together, was last summer when Richmond, Virginia had the Juneteenth 2016 Freedom Celebration. And on the evening of June 17th, Friday, June 17th last year, you and I had an opportunity to kind of spend some time and build a little bit. And you got a tap on your shoulder in the middle of our conversation. Why don't you tell the listeners about that tap you got on your shoulder?
Man, that was a crazy moment. Well, first let me say I've been doing comedy for 21 years, and I can only think of 2 shows I've ever paid to go in and watch a comedian. One show was when I went to watch Bernie Mac at the Landmark Theater years and years ago, and then the other show was Dick Gregory. And let me so you can really understand the magnitude of that moment for me. Let me back up, and I ain't gonna go through everything, but let me back up about 5 years before that. 5 years before that, I was at my sister's spot in Dover, Delaware. And I'm at her spot, and I'm watching a bunch of Dick Gregory videos. I leave my sister's house. I'm going to a friend of mine's house. At a friend of mine's house was this young lady. I meet her. Come to find out, it was Dick Gregory's granddaughter. So, wow. I'm like, that's crazy. You know, I just got through binge watching Dick Gregory. Then all of a sudden, within a day or so, I meet his granddaughter. So I'm talking to his granddaughter, we're chopping it up, and I'm telling her just how bad I want to talk to Dick Gregory. Well, at the time, I had a radio show at another station, an internet radio show, so I was trying to get Dick Gregory on my radio show. Went through the process, could never get in touch with his wife, who at the time you had to go through to get to him. So then Africa, who's my friend, that's her real name, Africa, who's my friend in Dover, went to meet Dick, told Dick about me being this guy that really wanted, to meet him, so forth and so on. So he sent me an autographed picture with my name on it and everything. So she tells me, I got something for you. So I go, I get the picture. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I got the picture hanging up now, looking at it in my office as we talk. So I get the picture, and I'm like, now I got to meet Dick Gregory. Can't find him. He's in D.C. when I'm not in D.C., running around. Finally, he's coming to the Carpenter Center in the side room, the Dominion Room, for Juneteenth celebration. Thank God for Elegba Folklore Society, because they were the ones that brought him. And I paid my money. I'm sitting in the back. You and I are sitting there together, all on way known as Dick Gregory. Well, as you and I sat there, we knew that after 20 minutes, 30 minutes went by, there was no Dick Gregory. People were just sitting there. So remember, my boy to the right, Steve Branch, was like, hey, man, you should go up there and perform. And I was like, I really should. So I called Imani. Imani is the daughter of Janine, who owned Elegba. And Imani was like, yeah, Dick Gregory is late. We're trying to work it out. And it wasn't Dick Gregory's fault. It was Elegba's miscommunication. But I really believe it was a divine moment that waited for me to be a part of what was going on. So then I talked to her. Then she's like, well, let me check. And then as you sat there, they came over and was like, yo, yeah, you can go ahead and go up there and do your thing. I remember not having a microphone and just going up there, screaming these jokes out that people were laughing at. Yeah. And I remember I looked up. I said, well, how long are they going to let me go? And I looked up, and in the back of the room was Dick Gregory. Yep. Dude.
He was standing 10 feet. He was standing 10 feet from where we were sitting. He was right behind me. Yeah.
And he showed up not long after I had been on stage, like 5 minutes or so.
So let me add this piece. The crazy part about that was there was no entourage. There was no group of people around him. He slipped in the side door like a regular person who was there to participate in the Juneteenth. So when he walked in, he was very unassuming, but you couldn't mistake it was Dick Gregory, and he just milled in. I guess you could pick up there, but that's the way he slipped in, cool and calm.
But I'm glad you put it that way, because I didn't notice him walk in. I just happened to look up and notice he was there. And when I saw him there, I'm like, all right, Bamm, you got to go in now, dog. You know what I'm saying? Not that I wasn't going in anyway, because I like to, try to do my best all the time. But when I saw him watching me perform, it was like one of those moments where you get your stripes as a comic, Because so many times, as I was there in the beginning anyway, I was there to watch him. Very rarely do we get legends to watch us. So that was a very rare moment for me. Even when I'm on the shows with bigger name comics and, comics that you would consider legends, they don't watch the show. They're in the back hanging out, they're in their trailers or whatever, and then when it's their time to come on stage, so they don't get to see us as young comics do our thing. Right. So for him to stand there, and then for him to allow them to let me be on stage for another 25 minutes, that was everything to me, man. And it was interesting because I did notice when I said the wrong thing, when I did the joke about Bill Cosby, and that's when they brought me on stage. And though it was a joke, Dick Gregory didn't take too kind to it, not because of me and the joke, but because of the state that Bill Cosby was in at the moment and the truth that we all know as to why it was really going on. Which Dick Gregory enlightened us to. So that moment, man, for me to say I got to open for Dick Gregory, I also got to perform for Dick Gregory in the same moment, and I wasn't even on the ticket, and I paid my way in. Dude, when you talk about divine moments, that was one. Then, in closing to that night, then after the show, I get a chance to go to the back, and I'm in the dressing room, and there's nobody there but me and Dick Gregory. And
you had him to yourself.
Just me and Dick Gregory, yeah. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there trying to have this regular conversation, but in my mind, I'm like, God, how did I get put in this situation? I really believe in the law of attraction. Right. And I believe in the law of attraction not because it's some imaginary thing, but I understand conceptually how the law of attraction works. And that moment, I had attracted it because of my desire, my true desire to meet Dick Gregory, but more happened than I could ever have imagined.
Right. Now, it's powerful. It's a powerful night. It's a powerful story. That's why I was, when I heard of his passing, I immediately said, I got to get with Bamm and see if he's going to be available. Ain't no half-stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We're talking with our brother, comedian Micah Bamm White, our reflections on the legendary Dick Gregory passing this weekend. Bamm, in closing, any final words that you want to share with the listeners about the teacher?
I'll say this, don't let media, can I say, minimize who Dick Gregory is. I don't want to say was, because, again, his body has decided, but who he is will live forever. So go and study Dick Gregory. Type in, go back to the 60s. Go back to when he ran for mayor of Chicago and he was getting death threats, from the current mayor at the time. Go back to when he talked about that he had to go out and get his own water and his own food because he was afraid that every water or any salads or something that was sent to his campaign he couldn't eat because he knew they were trying to poison him. Go back and look at the work that he did overseas, for freedom fighters and things of that nature. Go back and look at the Black Caucus and the things he did there. Go and really dig into Dick Gregory's life, not just his comedy. Because there's so much there. It's such a rich story. But not only that, it ain't just something you can learn about him. It's something you can learn from him that you can also live with. And if you are a comic or an entertainer, period, learn one great thing from Dick Gregory. You have not been given your talent for money and riches. You have been given your talent to live a purpose for God that will serve others. That is the life of Dick Gregory.
I can't think of a better way. I can't think of a better way to end it. That just made me a little bit speechless. So I appreciate it. Ain't no half-stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Bamm, you got anything that you got going on that we can support you in what you're doing? Anything coming up?
Hey, man, just out here, of course, still doing the comedy. If you got any comedy you need, hit me up. Check out my new website, mbbwhite.com, the same web name, but new site all the way up. Check that out. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and all that, at Comedian Bamm, Comedian Bamm. And if you ain't never seen me perform, bless your heart, that's good, because that means you can come on out and enjoy and see what people have been talking about.
You got it. Hold the line for me, Bamm. Ain't no half-stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. You're listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. Taking a break. Be back in a few. Stay with me.